Welcome back to the Summer 2014 European Challenger Series round of 10 play-in. 10 teams entered, but only 5 are going to continue on for their quest for the LCS berth after today. Our second elimination game is coming up, Gamers 2 versus Heavy Bot Lane. Gamers 2 is a team full of pretty familiar names. You've got Ocelot, former mid laner for SK. Also, you've got Morden, played for Giants in the Spring Split 2013, as well as Dude, who is the fill-in support for AAA in that split as well. So a couple of guys with some knowledge behind them.
Yeah, 3 former LCS players who are looking to get back into the LCS here using the Challenger scene. And at the same time, though, Heavy Bot Lane has some familiar names, too. We have Chrisland in the bottom lane, who's playing AD carry for them. But he was on Pulse Esports as well, I believe. No. He was on Reason Gaming, which took 4th place in the last Challenger series.
Yeah.
So he has a history of being here and actually performing really well. Mm-hmm. And these teams actually have a history of head-to-head matchups in the last 2 weeks when they were playing each other in the 5s ladder. We saw Gamers 2 take 3 games off of them to the 2 that Heavy Bot Lane took off Gamers 2.
Yeah.
And so when we were looking at those matchups, we saw that when Gamers 2 ended up with a victory, they ended up ending the game at around 26 minutes on average and with about 10 more kills.
Yeah.
But when Heavy Bot Lane had a victory, it was about 36 minutes, so about 10 minutes of a longer game, and only about a 6-kill difference between them. So they weren't as devastating in their victories. It was much closer when Heavy Bot Lane were pulling it out.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at because it means that, okay, so Gamers 2 obviously they're good at closing games out. Get a lead, snowball the game, close it out, done, right? And you get those quick victories. There's a lot of ways to think about like longer victories. Is it because your overall shot calling's better, and then if you are in a longer game, then your team is stronger just because they understand the game better? Or is it that it's hard for them to close out, they get a lead, and they just have to like slowly close it out? There's multiple ways that can work, and it's interesting to see how it's going to play out with these teams.
Yeah, with a 5-game sample size, it's not the largest in the world.
Yeah, you can't really do real stats off that.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing significant at that point. But the way that they had been performing against each other. And another factor to throw in is that they actually have a new jungler here for Heavy Bot Lane.
Yeah.
They brought in Taiki when they had Kikis go back to working with his ally from Pulse. He's on Lublin Shore. We will see him later on today.
Yeah.
But having Taiki, we're going to have to see how that works out for them because they haven't played with him too much.
Yeah, very recent addition to the roster, but he's like 700 points challenger.
Yeah.
Like all these guys are like super incredibly good solo, and I know we said at the beginning of the show, like sometimes the team doesn't make it, but the individuals show up, and they're just like, oh, we really want you on an LCS team because you're so good. Like, there's always a chance for individual all-stars to show up and just be awesome. Of course, the teams themselves, right, we saw guys go to the promo tournament. We're going to find 3 new ones, of course, throughout this split as well. But yeah, how well can the team mesh in 3 days, or, a week or whatever? Can you win a best of 1 against a team that hasn't changed their roster in months, actually? Gamers 2 been holding this roster for a while.
Yeah, Ocelot is really hungry to get back into the LCS. He really wants this really badly. He's a very emotional player, very passionate about what he does. And I remember last time he was in the Challenger Series, he's like, I love the competition. I love the feeling of winning, and he wants that back. He wants to be here. He wants to be in the LCS.
Wants to be back on that stage in front of the audience, seeing everyone. And it's good to see like the players with all that drive. Like it's the ones, and it's interesting because when we were doing all this prep, like I was looking at players that like had fallen out of the LCS, but were still going for it, and it was like, well, isn't that kind of like a depressing like statistic? Like, well, no, it's the guys that are hungry for it, right? It's like, okay, look, this my old team may have failed, but I know I'm good enough to go back for it, or I know I'm good enough to try again. Like the old MIM squad, Lublin Shore, they're still going for it, right? They played in the spring Challenger Series. They're playing in the Summer Challenger Series now, right? They've been changing up the roster. So now for Lublin Shore, for example, it's just like the bottom lane has been sticking around. They've subbed out the rest of that roster. And again, you've got guys like Ocelot, Dude, Morden, right? Guys who've been playing in the LCS and are trying to get back in. And as well, they've got JWoww and Yuki, who are guys that have been playing in the Challenger scene for the last year or so. And they're incredible talents as well. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to mesh the team together, right? Play all those online tournaments, and we're good enough to get it back in.
Yeah, and Yuki usually carries their games from the bottom lane from an ADC point of view. And if they, which makes a lot of sense too, because when you get to that 36-minute mark, which is their average time against Gamers 2 when they pull out a victory, that's when AD carries start really ramping up. That's when you have the last whisper, you have your attack speed and your damage item on top of it.
Yeah.
That's when you're starting to get going. At the 26-minute mark, when Gamers 2 typically ends games, that's usually when your mid laner and top laner have about 1 or 2 core items.
Yeah. and they're bigger, and you can kind of just do the dives.
Yeah.
And you kind of close things out that way. So yeah, it is going to be interesting to see how the teams stack up. Right, who gets the early game lead? We actually just saw a game with a 2-kill level 1 and an advantage laning phase get turned back around for a while. So there's all sorts of questions to really answer with these guys. Also, I do want to see then how the teams actually match up, and also I want to see because it's always something we see in like BO3s or BO5s. There's sort of this microcosm of what's actually important. Because you go into like an LCS game, a best of 1, you're like, okay, yeah, well, here's what we think they're going to play, here's what we want to play, and you come into your strat, and you kind of just fire blindly, and you go for a game. The next time you meet, maybe you change something back and forth. In a best of 3 or a best of 5, you kind of key in like, okay, well, their mid laner's really on today, right? Get his champions away because we can't deal with his Orianna. We weren't planning on dealing with Orianna, but we have to in this time. And with these teams, they've played so much in the last couple of weeks, they're actually going to be able to key into each other a little bit. What are the important champions? Again, we're on 4.6 here. When they were playing, it was 4.6 as well. So it's the same patch as when they were playing before. And again, 2 weeks ago. So you're like, okay, well, we can key in on who was really, really big. And for me, it was like Yuki was carrying for Gamers 2. Ocelot sometimes exploded on people. Cabochard tended to be really awesome. Lee Sin was actually a big champion here. As it's a flex pick for heavy bot lane, but it's also Morden's favorite jungler.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Lee Sin, a contested pick here. The top lane Lee Sin with teleport is very potent if you get just a tiny advantage in lane.
Yeah.
Because you just do so much damage with your AD ratios. And you start building just even more damage on top of it. You're like, oh, got a Hydra, got a Last Whisper, just even more, and you just start ramping up. And then one-shotting AD carries. And you'll be on that back line with teleport in no time. No time. But here's the thing, too, is when they usually carry the game with Yuki for Gamers, he's always playing something different. He's carried with Graves, he's carried with Lucian, he's carried with so many different things. Twitch is really good right now, really potent. And at the same time, Ocelot comes up big on things like Orianna, Lulu, Yasuo is in his champion pool. Maybe something they want to ban away. Yeah. But see the Lulu ban coming out here. Targeted over
at Astari.
Yeah, they don't want Astari. Astari is also the one player on the team who's not a challenger. And I don't know if they're going to kick the puppy here and start. That's what it is. When you see somebody's champion pool is really small,
yeah,
and you're like, that's the weak link, target bans at him.
Yeah,
target 2, target 3 bans at him. You're kicking the puppy. You want to keep him down. You want to make sure that you can abuse that power.
Yeah, I think it's the right choice. We'll see if they add any more bans to this one. Fresh LeBlanc banned away the Lucian, actually getting kicked off here. So not something that Yuki wants to first pick for himself, but I still feel like Lee Sin might be the grab here. We'll have to see what they go with.
Yeah, and they're sitting on that last ban here. So they don't want the Lucian to come through for Chrisland. He plays a very good Twitch.
Yeah, that's the other one. We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. And he's one of those players, like you were talking, you have to be able to play Twitch or it's a liability. And there they go. They thought they would probably first pick it with the Lucian ban coming out. Because you don't ban Lucian unless you're going to play something that is like, I need to have a pretty good lane for myself. So this is what's left. They have Kassadin still on the board, which is still very good right now.
Absolutely.
Ziggs, does decently against it, but this is the 0.8 shield Kassadin. So Ziggs is not as great as he is on live servers versus Kassadin. But, man, there's really Graves left. Misfortune could also be picked up.
Yeah.
We saw Misfortune earlier today in the OGN. Yeah. Saw how good that was.
To be fair,
Kate's still around.
Yeah, all the AD carries are honestly playable.
But
they have their preferences. I don't know, like Lucian, Twitch are kind of the big ones.
They got rid of the first pick worthy ones, is what's going on here.
Generally,
which shows how AD-centric this matchup is between the two teams.
True.
They don't want Chrisland going off, but at the same time, Yuki has carried their games in the past.
Yeah. So, well, going to be the Pisk. The first pick, there we go. I got first and pick together and I said Pisk. The Pisk. The first pick.
I didn't hear the K.
Oh,
so.
No, that's fine. First pick, Kassadin does go through for Ocelot. He's going to do his best to carry that game as he scales up. The bot lane are looking to lock in their top end jungle right now. Just say, yep, Kha'Zix and Lee Sin, no. I mean, Chrisland's Caitlyn's very, very good. Lee Sin I still think is worth locking in this one.
Yeah. They'll take it away from Morden, and they'll also give Cabo his most played top lane.
Yeah.
So, but it could be a flex pick, so they aren't showing all of their cards just yet.
True.
Because, Taiki, he can play that.
The thing is, he's not even on his, highly played in solo queue. And Lee Sin's a champion where it's like, if you play it a lot.
Yeah,
generally speaking.
That's true. You're a Lee Sin main, or you just don't play Lee Sin at all.
Generally, that's my general read on it, Yeah. So we'll see what happens with this one. But Lee Sin most likely for Cabochard here, going to blind pick that top lane with no top lane bans at all except for Lulu. to keep in mind. So we'll have to see what Gamers 2's choices are. Only the Thresh ban has come through. And say, well, Morgana's on the table, all this other stuff's on the table, but let's find an engaged support as well as Graves. It's interesting if they do go for Graves. It's a big range disparity, 525 versus 650. They're going to play around that with Leona, who's also melee.
Yeah. Leona will be able to close the distance still.
Yeah.
Karma Morgana up in terms of supports here that they can pick up for heavy bot lane. But here's another thing, is that Zyra is actually in Haiva's champion pool. He loves that champion. It's his third most played. He also played it in the round of 20, going 0-0-7 with Chrisland on Twitch. I would not be surprised to see that here. He's hovering over it right now.
Yeah.
Because that's his baby right there. He's like, Zyra's still good. She's still viable. And up against somebody like Leona, I would not be surprised to see that at all.
We'll see. They're going to hover over a lot of different picks right now. At this point, Chris is just clicking whatever he wants. Of course, he's already got the AD carry locked in for himself. That's going to be Caitlyn. At least the second most played here for Taiki. So figure, hey, if you've lost the Evelyn, just go for number 2, grab the Elise. Zyra does get picked up there. So it's the longest, it's basically the longest range bot lane versus the shortest range bot lane. Almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Annie's just not in there. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah. So obviously Annie's one. I think Zillion's also 600, but it's still an extremely long range lane versus extremely short range one.
I did not know that Zillion is 600.
Yep.
He chucks those bombs really far.
Yeah. The little gears.
Dynamite. Gears? They're gears?
I think they're gears.
Okay. I always thought they were like sticks of dynamite. I'm like, oh, he's a bomber. But gears makes more sense.
Yeah. He's already got time bombs.
Yeah, makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
That just shows you how much I pay attention to Zillion. Aside from his Chrono Shift dance.
That's awesome.
This is awesome. I love that video.
Well, it's going to be the rest of the picks, though, coming through. Gamers 2 looking at Irelia here for the top lane. So the second Irelia we're going to see today will be fighting up against Lee Sin. That'll be a fun matchup.
Very aggressive. Very
yeah.
in-your-face matchup between those two.
True.
That's going to be one of the...
for Morden.
Yeah. Okay. So Feral Flare is at that point in this patch where it hasn't been...
Heavily nerfed.
Yeah, heavily nerfed. It's at that point where you need the 30 stacks to create it, and the base stats of it aren't down. And it still scales up the heal.
Yeah.
Every time you get a stack on it, which was really big for the drain tanking. But now, Nocturne, he's very versatile. You can go ahead and build the Feral Flare on him. You can go ahead and actually snowball the lanes more and get the Lizard Elder. It's perfectly fine. You can do whatever you want. And Starry, he'd be a man after my own heart if he locks in the Talon.
Man, there's a good chance.
But it is a good...
You're facing Kassadin.
It's a good pick against Kassadin, but there are better picks out there or something.
Potentially. I mean, you never really know until you try. I never want to say a better pick because there's always undiscovered stuff.
You don't really want to go that AD heavy, too, against this team, because they would be pure AD at that point.
Yeah, aside from Elise. I mean, well, Zyra can kind of scale up.
Elise,
Zyra's like enough magic damage that I'd be okay with it.
There's just so much CC there. Once Elise gets max cooldown reduction, which most people go for now, they'll get something like the Ionian Boots of Lucidity and then Aegis of the Legion. They have a 2-second stun on a 6-second cooldown.
Pretty strong.
People have been maxing the E second after Q.
Yeah, it's a great build. It is going to be Kayle, though, for the mid lane. Astari going to play Kayle up against Kassadin this one. So the lineups are through. Gamers 2, Irelia, Nocturne, Kassadin, Graves, and Leona. Fairly tanky lineup, and again, a very aggressive lineup.
It looks like an all-in, which makes it so that the Zyra is the perfect pick as a support here for the disengage. You have so much zone control, and if you get a root onto the Kassadin, her escape is nulled. If the Leona goes in and you root her, you can root all of them at the same time, too, if you're just that good.
Yeah, sure.
Like, there's a lot of contingencies here that could happen, but I love the pickup of Zyra.
One thing I'm going to be concerned about, though, and I agree, I actually personally love Zyra. I think she's a great champion. I think back to Season 3 Worlds, where Zyra was super popular, and all everyone was playing was like Ahri and Zed. And man, do those champions love killing Zyra over and over.
Yeah,
super mobile, high burst. They're going to get away from her. They don't care about getting rooted because they're going to cast spells on you anyway. And it's like, you've got a Kassadin and a Nocturne, and even a Irelia to a certain extent, right? Like, you've got a lot of ways to just, like, burst that champion and peace out. And I wonder how much that Zyra does get caught, because I feel like she's good against like teamfight disengage, bad against assassin disengage.
Yeah, but the silence no longer on Kassadin, so it gives her a little bit of a leeway there.
Yeah.
Even if she dies, she'll probably get at least a CC.
She'll get her combo off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kassadin has to get in melee range to combo you as well now. Q and E's base damage is much lower.
His W.
His W is crazy, to be fair. At least he has to be melee, though.
The Iceborne Gauntlet, we did increase his range on his melee by a tiny bit.
Yeah, it's
made
150.
It feel a little bit better. But I'm excited to see how that shapes up. Going for the crystalline flask, keep himself all safe.
Yeah. Going for the defensive item build to start, keep the sustain going. It is going to be Ignite for the mid laners here, so no like TP cast in to get back into lane sooner. Something to watch out for. Both support starting with their gold generation. I'm going to see where their builds end up taking them with this one. Early ward for Gamers 2, going to watch their own blue buff. Heavy bot lane going to make their way towards that side of the map.
And they're just forming up here. They're looking to see if an invade will come out. You know, red side last game, Chantal Mactwao had a lot of luck in that bush up top.
They did.
Trying to replicate it here for heavy bot lane.
Well, see what they can do with this one. Right now, the Gamers 2 on the wrong side of the map for that one. So waiting in that brush won't do much, aside from attune you with nature.
And
if you don't have allergies, that would suck.
Absolutely suck. Be allergic to grass?
Yeah. You couldn't play Garen.
No, you could not play Garen. You'd come out of the bush all
Just
all itchy.
Yeah. Watery eyes.
You'd be really red too.
Yep. See what we get with this one. Gamers 2, though, going to look for a late invade on the bottom side of the map, which heavy bot lane will not spot there. So the defensive level 1. There we go. Heavy bot lane making their way around a little bit more.
And they have to invade. Because if you don't invade, you're going to lose a buff. And with the 90-second trinkets, or 2-minute trinkets, sorry, they're 2-minute trinkets. 120-second trinkets.
That is indeed the case. Well, heavy bot lane going for the late invade down towards their opponent's blue up. They will get spotted by a ward on their way over.
There's a real ward there. And now they have all the information they need. But at this point, if you are heavy bot lane, you can assume that your blue is gone.
Yep, so there's a smite there from the Nocturne. Both teams fully clear the blue buffs, and we're going to have the 2-man jungle squads.
This is very important because the top lane still has those extra resistances on it. The bottom lane does not in this patch. So Gamers 2 is actually going to push a little faster, and they saw this coming because of the ward. So now Morden and Jwoww will both get level 2 at the same time, and they'll be able to push this bottom lane extremely quick.
All right, let's see how the push goes. These guys are going to hit level 2. All the above looks like Cabochard and Taiki, my apologies, are going to get there at about the same time. Voltor Spiderling does reach the minions. And here comes the 4v0 push.
Push them a little quick there. No cannon minion in that wave just yet. By the time it gets completely just filtered out, they will have that cannon minion ready to go. Look at that. They're actually a little bit faster here with the Spiderlings and the Skittering Frenzy, and the fact that Lee Sin has the attack speed increase. Because the jungler and top laner, Aurelia doesn't do anything extra to turrets. It's really just relying on the Nocturne's passive attack speed from his Shroud.
Well, it's going to be that first turret going down. Looks like they're going to actually donate the experience to Yuki. Problem is this minion wave is going to slow push unless he resets the wave somewhere. It's going to be something to be concerned about for the Gamers 2 lineup in this one. They're going to send their trio back to defend the tier 2 turret. And there's the recall for the Graves as well, but this might allow a lane freeze for Cabochard on Lee Sin.
Yeah, actually, his wave is actually going to push up a little bit because of how many are in it. We'll have to see how he plays it.
Yeah,
I think the freeze situation is actually better for Jwoww right now.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, he just froze it.
Okay, okay. Well, we'll keep track of that in the near future. Right now, Taiki and Morden getting their way back into their own jungles. Looks like red buff going to be grabbed for Elise. Morden going to take a second and grab the Wraiths before going to his own red. And here we go. The junglers doing their standard camps with this one. And we'll see how the lanes progress. Right now, actually, it's interesting because Grizzland has come down to join Cabochard on the bottom side of the map.
They can't give up the dragon pressure at this point. It's the prime objective. Jwoww still has his teleport available. He can be up in that top lane. Look at that. It's going to start pushing because the cannon minion wave came up. And now he can't help it. He doesn't want it to do it, but it's going to do it anyway.
Well, we'll see at what point the teams rejoin right there, because a big wave is something that allows a team to push very heavily.
Also allows you to dive if your jungler is around.
Absolutely it does.
And once you get that kill, you deny so much experience from somebody. And look at that, 3 men strong in the mid lane.
Okay. So heavy bot lane doesn't do anything with the bottom lane. That thing got stacked up, and it's just Grizzland pushed it in, then pieced out for the recall. There's a big wave up top lane for Jwoww, but it looks like no one's going to come and try to help that one push out either.
So because heavy bot lane typically wins their games against Gamers 2 10 minutes quicker, They're going to try to accelerate the pace of the game. Dude's going to get caught by Grasping Root.
Some decent damage, down a half HP, but not going to do much more than deal some damage right there. Buckshot does not quite land, but it's going to be standard lanes right here. So the team's going to reset. Nocturne actually makes his way towards the top lane right here, at least doing the same. Looks like we're going to have a bit of action on this side of the map. And I believe Morden dodged all the wards, as did Taiki. Ooh, nope. New one came down.
New one came down. They know that he's there. They also see that he doesn't have as many combat stats as Morden does.
Ever so slightly, yeah.
It's just barely. But at this early on, still makes a big difference. You've basically multiplied your armor by 25%.
What's attack speed now?
Oh, yeah. Your attack speed,
boost
which is
damage.
Amazing.
Yeah, for Nocturne, it's awesome. All right, Cabochard does not know about this.
There's a shadow behind him. Don't look behind you. It's right behind me. Yes, it is.
All right, there we go. Stun comes in. The jump back to the minis. He flashes, gets away from the Fear Tether. But as he summon a spell down, so successful gank.
Yep. As long as you get a flash, it's a successful gank. Any summoner spell that you get from that person makes so they don't have it in lane. And look at that. Pressure is now on. He's going to be able to buy whatever he wants.
Yeah, so that flash did cost 2 jungle camps, though. Taiki cleared away the golems and the wraiths, so if the flash doesn't mean anything, it's just golden experience that actually went heavy bot lane's way. We'll see if it means much. Right now, Gamers 2 hold on to a 200 gold lead just from their laning phase so far. We'll see if it means much more as time goes on. Slot easily grabbing some stuff. Taiki going to go buy a ward again. Looks like the ward coverage very good for Gamers 2. They've stopped every gank attempt.
Keeping it up, keeping their awareness up. They really want this. They really do. 3 of their members, former LCS. They're playing like it right now. They're playing like they want to be back in there. Yeah, but the thing is they're playing safe.
They are. Playing a bit more of a defensive game. I mean, they do have a Kassadin who's going to scale very well, though the problem is Kayle does too.
But the thing is, Kassadin's early game is actually a lot better than it used to be. He stays in lane a lot more. His staying power is immense. Level 6 here.
Yeah, big damage from JWoww.
One more. Ooh.
Did not have Q back up from cooldown, so he couldn't chase any farther. Flash E wouldn't have been worth it either. But big damage comes through. JWoww winning that matchup.
Yeah, the fact that there's no flash as well means that he wins that pretty much hands down. And then the level 6 advantage. Giving him a little bit, but they're going 4 men strong in the mid here. On to Ocelot.
Ooh.
He can't defend this turret by himself as Kassadin.
I like this move. This is very, very smart by heavy bot lane, making their way back quickly to the mid lane with this one. This will almost be their turret. There are some spiderlings here as well, and looks like they will be staying. At the very least, look at it on the next wave. Haiba takes turret aggro. Do you hear the defend? Actually, Gamers 2 stopped the push with about 300 health left in the turret.
Yes, Ocelot needed help there. They immediately bring it up. Yuki got a little bit of free farm for himself in the meantime. Oh, going in for it.
Yeah, so there's some damage right there. You can see the plant does break through the shield eventually. Ocelot is maxing Q, by the way, on Kassadin. I think every single ability has a case for being maxed first or last for Kassadin, as people start to figure out the builds. But maxing Q for the shield primarily.
Yeah, if you were against somebody who's AD, you probably wouldn't max the Q.
No. I think melee versus melee matchups, you'd actually max W. The damage is higher per point. And you just spam at people.
And E if you want to wave clear against somebody.
It's not even a high damage spell. Like, the wave clear's not even good.
On the E?
Yeah, it's the same damage as Q. It's like 180 at max rank. So you wouldn't really wave clear with it. Because you can't get 2 off per wave, because it's gated a number of spells cast.
The base damage on it.
Yeah, base damage is super low on E.
Yeah. Went down.
But it's a big, giant AoE slow, and as far as, like, the base cooldown's lower than Q's. If you're in team fights, it'll out-damage Q, for what it's worth.
The fact that your W is free, you can just get more spells for your Force Pulse yourself.
Yeah.
And now heavy bot lane making a move for the Dragon. It's completely open for them right now. This will be the first advantage of the game for them by about 500 gold.
All right, well, there we go. Heavy bot lane making it work. They're bot lane heavy with minions right now, and the whole team's going to show up to push alongside of them. Cabochard leading the charge here, level 4, maxing E on Lee Sin, by the way. We do see different builds a lot of the time. Red buff, actually, being grabbed by Morden, but he's not defending. He's just going to be killing away his jungle, and Gamers 2 not joining the party in time. Turret goes down.
So making that Dragon, taking the inside route and forcing Gamers 2 all the way around to take the safe route, gave them a turret in response. JWoww, he has his teleport. He has a ward in the backlines to TP too, but they're not making a move for it just yet.
So they do not want to make that one happen at all. Would have been a 4 versus 4. Mid laners would have joined about the same time anyway. Ocelot still just farming 60. 278 in minions right now. A pretty close score between the two of them. But as we expect, Astari to the early lead. We'll see at one point this Kassadin catches back up.
Yeah, it's been a 0-kill game so far, but all the outer turrets are about to be taken by heavy bot lane here.
Ooh, bit of damage comes in. Good slow is going to land. Some decent damage there onto this actually very low HP Kayle at this point.
Yeah, heavy bot lane look like they're trying to just get out of the laning phase. Just shut down the Kassadin, make sure Aurelia doesn't scale up, and just allow themselves to teamfight as much as possible and get objectives. Because they just keep going middle. They clear bottom, go middle. Clear bottom, go middle, go where the objectives are. Once they get all the outer turrets, they're going to have to ward up the jungle and make some catches and really good rotations.
Yeah. Yuki forced a dash back. He's all right, though. So let's see.
Had a little cocoon in his eye.
Yeah.
He's fine for a second. It stuns you. Takes you back.
He's fine now. So heavy bot lane definitely playing the more strategic game for this one. Starting this one out. Tiamat done as well for Lee Sin. And 2 attacks go in. There's the kill. The engage comes in. How's the fight going to go? Taiki in the front line. Cabochard forced to jump away as well. Kayle comes in. First blood goes down for Morden. And there comes the dive into the back line. Big kills coming through. Haiba forced away. JWoww finds another one. Looks like a 1-for-3 fight so far. Solar Flare going to get dodged away, but Astari goes down anyway. Only Krisland alive. 4-for-1 battle.
A triple kill there for JWoww off the back of it, and now they're going to go ahead and counter this turret. Krisland, the only one alive. He has Ace in the hole, but JWoww would most likely block it if it happens. They go after the turret is dead, so they don't have that support, but look at that. We have the TP in the back line, and the ultimate intervention used, but of course there were 2 low targets and he was able to pick up at least one of them and then wait for the other. So the resets came out, and the great solar flare there at the end. You can see how low Leona was off on the side there. Dude, basically a Piltover Peacemaker would have killed him.
Yeah.
But he risks it. He says, I gotta throw it down, I gotta be a support. And it comes up big. Gives them the slow they need.
Yeah, and I feel like he hit level 6 during that fight. Because he's just level 6 now, and it's like he would have probably cast that sooner, so goes in, gets the... Even just a slow was enough, of course, to pick off Kayle, and it was a big battle. 1,000 gold lead now for Gamers 2. The minion wave's not going to be claimed on both sides, but right now this is a team that's looking great. They picked up, you know, the Aurelia, who has a, by the way, 12.5-minute Trinity Force. That is ludicrously fast.
Yeah, all 3 kills funneled onto him. There were 4 kills. He didn't get 1 assist, but meh.
Worth it.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
I mean, he has his cake. Yep, and he'll eat it too later.
He might.
See, with the Trinity Force, definitely going to make him eat that. There's a lot of damage there very early on for him. We saw an Aurelia in the last game too. Took a very long while for him to get his Trinity Force and to get going.
Yeah. Still won.
Yeah, still won. Aurelia has a very high priority in European players that play top lane. And it's not so much an NA thing.
Or Korea or China.
Or Korea, that's very true. EU just has this affinity for Aurelia. And she's actually a very good top laner. The only time I ever see it really played in Korea is as a counter pick to Ryze. Because it does well with the passive.
Yeah, I can see that.
Prison. It just has such a low duration on it anyway. The extra tenacity just puts it over the top.
I was talking to one of the LCS players actually, and they said that Europe invents the picks, Korea refines them, and then North America copies them.
Just like Morgana support.
Yeah. Like, I saw it first with Rokat.
And it happened again at All-Stars with Zilean support.
It's true. Yeah, J-Re was the first one to do it, I think. Yeah. Europe invents the picks.
Well, there's somebody who did support Zilean probably before that.
When Zilean first came out, someone played support Zilean. Yeah. But we're talking, you know, pro play. It's going to be like 20 years, like, I played support Zilean first. Like, yes, you did, to be fair. We just didn't cast it.
I played laning Evelyn. When that becomes a thing.
That was like the thing at the end of Season 2. Or, yeah, when, right after TPA won All-Stars, IPL5 was a bunch of mid-Evelyn players. People realized that it was like incredibly powerful.
Roam.
Yeah, it's super good.
You never know where he is.
You had enough mana to wave clear all the time because you'd get your mana back between waves. It was super good. So, Ocelot. Now, notice actually that he's, by the way, almost never using Riftwalk. He's keeping it available from cooldown because the base cooldown's like 7 at rank 1. And so it takes a, like, you don't want to stack it up, 1, because the mana cost is really high, and 2, the base cooldown's pretty high. So he's actually waiting around pretty heavily and leaving it available if he does need to disengage.
I want to see if he goes for an Iceborne Gauntlet, because it would give him the armor that he needs to deal with everybody on the team. Because Kayle does some physical damage, a lot of her attack speed transitions into that. And now, if he does, it's just awesome. His W on top of that, the auto attack reset. fact that it gives you a whole bunch of mana back, and it's a percentage of your max. So the more you have, the more it gives you back.
Absolutely. See what else he grabs with this one. Ocelot just stacking his row for now. Heavy bot lane. Looks like they want to start taking control of the map again. They are up and here in time for the Dragon. JWoww does not have teleport, but Cabochard does. That means that JWoww is going to walk his way down there by himself. It will give time for Lee Sin to split push. Heavy bot lane could outplay this and get some free turret pressure.
But I think Gamers 2 recognizes that they're going to try to apply pressure and actually start it up and take it, pose the threat so it won't be a free turret. They'll at least have to blow TP or just not, or just give up the Dragon.
Yep.
Those are the two options.
Completely disengaged and said, you know what? The last team fight went better for Gamers 2, so they just trade. It's actually a pretty smart choice. I like this. Cabochard just grabbing a turret as payment for Dragon.
At the same time, it means they have to go deeper for more objectives. The fact that Gamers 2 gave up all of these early objectives, but they're still in the lead in terms of gold, is huge.
Absolutely.
That if Heavy Bot Lane wants to come back, they have to wait for Gamers 2 to come to them.
Well, Gamers 2 happy to wait at least for now. It looks like the first big item done for Cabochard adds a Giant's Belt as well, but has the Hydra. So big lifesteal available here for Lee Sin. Red buff grabbed by Taiki. Just chilling.
A little amendment. They have to wait for Gamers 2 to come to them or ward up the jungle precisely.
Yeah. And find those.
Figure out what they want to do. So heavy bot lane shot calling is going to be called into action here. And so far, it's stood the test.
Yeah.
They did the split. They did it really well. And now we're going to see how that holds up. Now, the top laners here, I want to see how JWoww with the 3 kills does versus Cabochard.
Well, it's Triforce versus Giant's Belt Hydra. There's a small level lead for JWoww, but he burns the ulti just to clear the wave, so he's going to peace out and join his team somewhere. They're just leaving Ocelot to split push, though. Like, this is a dedicated split push Kassadin, who, by the way, even if Kassadin couldn't win the 1v1s in this early game, I feel like he wouldn't easily, not against any of the major defenders. He can't really be caught.
Yeah.
So Gamers 2 are buying a lot of time for this Kassadin to scale up. Yuki's getting... He's basically the wave clear threat in mid lane. Like, whatever the push ends up
he goes
being,
in.
Ooh, goes in half health onto his star. He takes the Q, walks away. That was nice.
Yeah, look at how little he blew for that, too. In terms of his mana, it's immediately back. Almost no resources consumed there. Goes ahead and uses some Crystalline Flask charges, and now he's fine. He'll go straight for the turret, and all 4 of them are here for it. Top lane, JWoww
Great
there.
play. Root comes in, but dodged away by Ocelot. He's going to be safe. There we go. JWoww forces a flash to the wall, dodges a cocoon, but still more damage comes through. Is it going to be enough? The kick is available. Big damage. This will be a dead JWoww. Nicely picked up.
And so now the pressure's on that bottom. It is a 3v4 in that bottom lane, but it's a 2 versus turret. They give it to the turret most of the time. Actually, it's a 3v3 because they pulled Nocturne back, so their engage is gone aside from the Solar Flare to defend this turret.
Well, Nocturne has pretty decent wave clear, so he's going to be pretty safe in this one. Gets rid of the minions, so it's basically a kill for a blue buff and some turret pressure there from Gamers 2. Now, I did like the fact that Gamers 2 is using Graves as the anti-push. Blue buff's still actually backed by heavy bot lane, but it does mean that blue buffs actually went to the wrong people in certain cases. There comes the dive TP in from Irelia towards the top side. Pick onto Morden. Big damage comes through. Nice repel. Dodges the damage from Irelia, but Taiki just gets chased down. Ocelot get the kill credit. 5-2.
Escaped from 2 members to go into the rest of the majority of the team. Didn't have the vision to cover himself there. Saw that Diode was coming up with Yuki a little too late. The repel call was already entered. But JWoww, the great teleport into the back line there. He showed up the last place you expect him. You're like, wait, we just killed you.
Yep.
And now you're in front of us.
Other side of the map. Well played on this one. Of course, that is a 5-minute teleport cooldown, but worth it, of course. So now, can heavy bot lane play around that TP? They know it's been burned. They know they've got another 4.5 minutes. Can they do anything with that, though, is the real test for these guys. Ocelot back to the bottom lane, back in the split push. He's going to get what farm he can. And this is the playstyle. I mean, Gamers 2, they are slow playing this game.
Yeah, he's also got double buffs. It's extremely hard to deal with a Kassadin. He just has Rod of Ages. Sitting on a lot of gold right now, actually. So when he backs, he'll be able to pick up some great goodies for himself and be even more powerful. Like right now, he's a really big threat, but now it's just really disheartening when you see somebody who's already causing at least 2 people to deal with him, and you're like, he hasn't purchased in a while. He hasn't added more to his arsenal. He's just ready to cash in. And that's an aggressive move there by Ocelot.
Wow, he's pretty confident in his team's ability to follow up with this one, get some damage down. Cabochard forced to kick back JWoww. And now actually, this is going to be Gamers 2 actually getting us surrounded this one. There's really nowhere for Lee Sin to go unless he can ward hop away safely. Ocelot going to get some damage through. Actually, doesn't really land the ulti on that one. Cabochard gets away.
Yeah, he used his flash there to get out. He has his teleport available. There's not much he can do. He's up in the fight. Doesn't want to go ahead and split push his side lane. And at the same time, now it's a 5-on-5 in the mid lane. But there's definitely an advantage here for Gamers too.
Yeah. They're the team in the lead.
But the thing is you don't want to tower dive a Zyra.
No.
That's where the disengage
This
comes
team can't tower dive. There's
in.
no tank.
Yeah, exactly.
Nocturne built squishy. Aurelia's built squishy. She's actually going for the Zephyr right now.
Feral Flare already completed.
Yep.
The 30-stack Feral Flare. Bladed Rune King on top of it. And Taki, oh!
Ooh, Juke's back, but still gets slowed down. Big damage comes through. Kill picked up there for JWoww. 4-1, 20 minutes in the game.
And 1-3 here for Taiki.
Yeah.
Also down in levels. And now the Dragon up in 30 seconds for Gamers too. Picking up that kill for themselves allows them to apply the pressure and get the positioning if they wanted it, but instead they're going to back, get all the combat stats, then go contest the Dragon.
That's going to be the case. 15 seconds till that comes back up. Now, the last Dragon was uncontested by Gamers 2. Or they got that one without anyone really trying to stop them. So the timer is going to be more exact for the blue team here. There's a chance Heavy Bot Lane gives that one up just simply by not knowing exactly when it comes up. We'll see.
So Rod of Ages already stacking up on Ocelot. Gets himself the Seeker's Arm Guard. Was sitting on Home Guard already this early on in the game. So he's ready to move around the map. He's ready to get himself into position.
Yeah.
And that helps him get to the Dragon just right in time. And they've basically conceded. Heavy bot lane, they want nothing to do with this Dragon, but they're going to have to answer for it because now it's gold for Gamers 2.
Exactly. Gamers 2 have been just acquiring advantages consistently this game.
You got to smack the Baron a couple times, you know. Keep your sanity.
Make sure he's awake.
Yep.
It's like a newborn baby. Make sure it cries.
But don't smack it, though.
Well, I mean, no. No, sorry.
Freaks
sorry.
stop smacking babies.
Wow. That's not where I was going with that one. I apologize very sincerely for this one. Ocelot, though, he's just still doing the split push. Okay. Let him go.
Hi.
Let's him off with a warning. Yeah, I got you.
And now we see JWoww. He's just in the top lane. He's going to continue to... This lane is actually frozen in his favor if he leaves it like this. It'll continue to push towards him. And the fact that there's a cannon minion in it that hasn't taken any damage...
Yeah. The fact that he's freezing in general really shows you how slow G2 wants to play this. Because they're the team that's winning. They could push, go for turrets.
This lane's frozen too.
We're just going to freeze lanes. We're going to play another 10 minutes and just let it go.
Oh, nope. Ocelot's not going to have any of that. He's going to give that thing a little love tap.
Yeah. Cabochard, unfortunately, like he's in XP range, but he knows he can't really fight Ocelot. That should have been a successful sneak in. Kale's moving his way down. Okay, goes for a bit of damage. Does fight Ocelot. Got a minion wave lead, so yeah.
Wants to force him to clear the wave instead of freezing it. If only a little. Because look at JWoww. JWoww's frozen that wave and used that cannon minion to make it push all the way back into him. And now he's like, all right, I have to show up to these fights now. I got to clear it. Got to back.
Two got exactly what they wanted. Said, okay, we have enough gold. We're going to do the recalls. There will be a wave right down by the tier 2 turret in the bottom lane, but heavy bot lane not moving in time to stop that. It seems like their shot calls have stopped. Heavy bot lane are just like clearing what minions are there, but there's so many like waves that are randomly frozen. They're not getting a whole lot of gold anymore, and just things have stalled out for these guys.
And Ocelot is going to pick himself up a blue, and you're right. I said the shot calling is going to be called in question here for heavy bot lane. It was good at the start of the game, but it's really trickled off after they gave up those couple of kills in mid, where the call was to finish off the turret, and then the counter engage came in from Duke. Or I guess the engage there.
Yeah.
They were looking
They just dove right as the turret died. Well, the split has switched places. Ocelot's now gone to the top lane, which is smart because Baron's the top side of the map, so put your teleport on the bottom side. Try to pull attention with JWoww there. Ocelot waiting on top of the pink ward. Does see it's going to be the Lee Sin to fight against him, who has not built any MR yet. So I wonder how Ocelot would do in this kind of a battle. Every time I said that like they can't fight someone, it's always gone the other way. I was like, Ocelot can't beat any split pushers, and like Chunks killed a half. And I'm like, Cabochard can't really fight Ocelot, then goes in when the minion wave dies. I'm like, okay, well, minion waves are kind of dictating the trades, but in isolated 1v1s, I wouldn't have been wrong.
JWoww can always show up to these with his teleport.
Exactly.
So you're not really 1v1ing anybody.
Nope.
I don't know if they abide by that code. Unless you're winning, then they're just like, yeah, it's fine.
And
I'm not going to show up.
I guess keep in mind as well that once the lanes break down, rank 2 Nocturne ulti plus teleport is really easy to swing a fight with. So heavy bot lane to be very afraid of, like, anytime they engage, 2 guys could join in about 4 seconds.
Yeah, and we see here the extra armor from Ocelot. He knows where he wants to be. He wants to be against this Lee Sin. Wants to be split push, and we see that Morden is off on the side here. He's ready to go. There's nobody around Cabochard if he pushes up at all.
Oh, ping spot the Leona. That's fine. Not too important for these guys. Morden makes it around 4. As you can see, Cabochard did not want any part of that one at all. Again, recognizes the amount of MAA that's available. Knows people could slink into the brushes. And it's really just heavy bot lane grabbing the junk lanes. Whatever stuff pushes in and it's safe, they can grab it. But otherwise, no real moves are being made. There's the dive in. Good damage comes through. Flash is going to get him out of the Fear Tether. Great kick back as well. Morden uses the Blade of the Rune King, though. Cabochard's got no way to disengage anymore, and he's going to go down.
Just so much damage here from Morden. The fact that he completed his Blade of the Rune King on top of the Feral Flare, he is extremely potent. He has all of this attack speed. And if he gets on this turret, it's going to die. And here's Diud with the engage.
4v5, the dive comes in. Good ulti keeps the Zyra alive. But here comes J1 in the back line, picks up 1, now goes for Krislin. Big damage comes through the dive forward. 2 more kills for Gamers 2. Gonna get away as they wait for the next minion wave.
So they had the power, they recognized that they had it, and they immediately abuse it. They put that numbers advantage to use, and the fact that they were able to get rid of the Zyra and just cause themselves to have this advantage was really big. That turret, they gave it a false sense of security to heavy bot lane.
Yeah.
And Gamers 2 abused that.
Yeah, they're playing absolutely amazingly in general. Like, it's weird. Like, this is interesting because it got to be so frustrating to play against because they play it so slowly. The beginning of the game, okay, just let Kassadin farm. The lanes break down. Okay, well, Cass split pushes bottom, Irelia split pushes top. We have Graves just hold on to lanes for a while, and they're playing it slowly. They let the lanes freeze at 25 minutes in. They're like, yeah, we're going to play it this slowly. It's literally called freeze. That's how slow they're going to play it. And then out of nowhere, they're like, okay, camp top. Blow them up. Guys, everyone go top lane, dive if they defend.
And you could see how much the top laner was being zoned by Ocelot there.
Yeah.
There's nothing you could do. He'd run up and he'd be like, okay, I can Sonic Wave it. And then he goes for it, and they knew he was going to do it. And they immediately engage on him.
And that's the disappointing thing is he knows he can't go for that.
Yeah.
He's like, I got to play so far back, I can only Q stuff. And he's like, I really want that 19 gold.
Yeah. It's a cannon minion.
I want that 45
You
gold.
can't let the cannon minion go.
It's worth 1/10 as much as your life.
Baited by the cannon minion.
That's happened to many of us.
It happens all the time.
We are all aware of getting baited by
That's
cannon
the
minions.
thing, though, is that you can use the cannon minions to your advantage. You're like, if my opponent realizes how much gold a cannon minion is,
yeah,
I know they're gonna want that baby.
Yeah. That's how lane. That's how everything goes. That's how ganks are performed.
That's why
that's how you
have to
trade
watch
lane.
You have to watch the HP though. You have to
Absolutely.
be like, he's gonna go for it now, especially as a jungler. And
Yes.
And the person who's assisting the gank. You're just like, all right.
When they auto the cannon, I'll shockwave.
Yes.
It's
exactly.
like, and that. Yes. Sorry, I keep cutting you off because Mike excited to talk about this.
Yeah, I know. You're like, I know he's gonna be right here on top of it. Let's do this. There's like videos out there of cannon minions baiting people. We were going to say
scumbag cannon minions. Yeah. So when you play League of Legends, just in general. So 2 stories. One, this is something that people commend Faker for a lot. Is he makes you fight for every single CS you go for. Anytime you last hit, he tries to attack you. And this is the other thing is when you play League of Legends and you're laning or jungling, right? You watch the enemy minions' HP so you can last hit them. You watch your own minions' HP for when you get free damage.
Yep.
You basically buy damage with 20 gold. You're like, this minion will die, and you will get 20 gold, and I will hit you for it.
That's a great way of thinking of it.
You have to, you basically pay for every CS with blood if your opponents are good.
Yeah. I really like that.
And then that even snowballs farther, because if the CS is too painful, think about it. A health potion is 150 health for 35 gold. If you're going to take more than 150 health for less than 35 gold, it wasn't worth it. Because everyone goes into lane with potions, right? Everyone buys potions, goes into lane, and they will freely use them if it allows them to go into the fight. But if you die for it, again, to replay this fight, big kills come out. JWoww blows people up. They disengage a Gamer 2's back out.
Yeah. We talked about that as we were going into the swap out there. just the way they were able to execute that, knowing they had the numbers advantage and then immediately pushing it was huge. And now they aren't even going to back. They're going to go straight back up there.
Big pin coming through. Tier 2 turret under fire. No one in the right mind would defend this turret. It is going to go to Gamers 2. So, 4-4 in turrets. Interestingly enough, Heavy bot lane actually got turret kills themselves throughout this game.
But they couldn't do anything afterwards. I was talking about how they have to ward up the jungle and push that lead, but they didn't really have a lead. They had an objective lead, which means that they would have map pressure if they had more gold and more threatening champions. The fact that they were behind meant that they had just taken like territory that Gamers 2 could freeze in. And Gamers 2 abused that. They recognized it, and it's really good on them that they were able to pull that off.
Absolutely. Absolutely great play by these guys. Any team that identifies the 5v4 dives, I'm always a fan of, because it means you saw it coming in advance. Like, you don't get 5v4 dives unless you saw it coming. Just in general, you don't pull 5 guys up for no reason. And so they have the foresight to see it 30 seconds in advance, and then the execution to pull it off and get kills for it. That's always a good mark for a team.
Now we see the Ionian Boots of Lucidity for Taiki. He's looking for the lockups, very standard build now for Elise. And at the same time, the items are actually pretty decent here for Heavy bot lane, but it's the 7K about to be even more gold difference here for Gamers 2. And the fact that they've just stacked these on and they haven't let up. Ocelot has 100% kill participation, and he's going to have more.
Oh, Chrislin forced over the wall. The engage comes in. Solar Flare does not land onto much, but Astari goes down 1-for-0. Taiki forced away. Zyra ulti makes him back out, but another 1-for-0.
And taking that advantage for themselves. They're going after the Baron here. They throw down the pink ward.
Well, Cabochard is around. Taiki will maybe look to steal this one. Does not have flash. It's a one-way trip for the Elise. Dude is on ward killing duty. Gamers 2, will they go for this one? Caitlyn will be blocked out. Will they burst in time? There's the repel. They go in for the fight anyway. Lee Sin across the wall. Smite comes through. Picked up for Gamers 2 on top of 2 kills as well. Over the wall goes Ocelot. Flash slow comes in. Haiva, Cabochard both getting chased down. 1 kill picked up. Gonna make that 2 in a second, and now only Astari is alive.
So they end up getting the Baron for themselves. It's 14-2 in kills. Ocelot still 100% kill participation. He's been involved in all of them, and now they're going to get a mid turret on top of everything that they acquired for themselves in that fight. Just an immense play there.
Oh yeah,
by Gamers 2. 28 minutes in, they're like, all right, we can do Baron. We went for top. Now we can do Baron now.
And the fact that they are all ready to just dive over the top instead of going for Baron at the start of it all, said, okay, our goal is actually to bait them in, bait the repel if you can. Repel didn't really come out. They just said, okay, screw it, kill him.
And they sat there and soaked the damage from Baron, because what you typically do as a jungler, and you're like, I can see the Baron, I can gauge the DPS, the damage per second that's happening to it. How long until I repel now, go in, and smite? And then Gamers 2 got it to about 2,000, and they stopped. And they were like, all right, when are you going to come in? When are you going to come in? And then he repelled, and they were like, all right, go in. And they went over, and they left the Baron at actually 2,000 HP.
Yeah.
And then Cabochard went in with Lee Sin. And at least they're like, all right, I guess we have to get it now. Our backline's dying. And they still don't come up with it there because Morden gets the smite.
Yeah, that was actually impressive. I'm actually wondering, I'd like to look back and figure out if they left no targets for repel. Because I'm not sure if repel is actually in range of Baron itself. And if the champs all jump the wall, there's nothing to fall to. And he could never have smited. I don't know. I'm just wondering if that was the case.
Pretty sure you're...
Because there's a way to outplay that, to like literally give no repel targets. If they repel far enough back.
Yeah. Well, you'd have to do it really quickly.
Sure, yeah. I don't know if that was intentionally their goal, but certainly it might have happened regardless.
Yeah.
It still came down to 50-50 smite. Like, it got to the point where somebody had to smite that anyway, so...
Yeah, but Gamers 2 put themselves in the situation that even if they had given up the Baron, they still would have cleaned house out.
Absolutely. Yeah, they were going to get ahead in that regardless. I think that's actually a really good point, that they would win even with the smite. So the siege now to the bottom lane, 31.5 minutes in.
And Gamers 2, they don't have a good history of doing well in the Challenger series. Their previous attempts to make it past the round of 8 have been foiled almost every time.
True.
And now, Friesland made it with Friesen Gaming to 4th place. His journey might end in the round of 10.
Well, damage might come on through in this one. And we're going to see who claims the throne in this game and moves on to the top 8. There we go. Turret goes down. The dive in behind the inhibitor. It's going to be Elise falling down rather rapidly. Ocelot unstoppable, 5-0 and 10. Heavy Botland forced backwards very rapidly. 2 more kills come through as Astari and Hiva fall. It's going to be the bottom inhibitor for sure. Triple kill for Kassadin. A 7-1 and 4 Aurelia. The Nexus turret's now under fire at 32.5 minutes. Yuki on the fountain just for fun of this one. No way that this game gets turned around. Gamers 2 going to be our second winner of the day. And we'll see him in 2 weeks.
Ocelot coming up big there for his team. He became a split-pushing menace. 7-0 and 10 ends the game with 100% kill participation. Nothing happened in that game without Ocelot being there to basically shout and say go.
Yeah.
You know, being very passionate. And he's a very, very passionate player. Very momentum-based.
True.
And when he gets going like that, he just takes over the entire game.
Yeah, and honestly, they played the lane split slow, waited for team fights, waited to scale up. One thing I really liked from that game is the bot lane of Gamers 2 went 0-0 and 23. Yeah. All of the kills went to the carry lanes up in the top jungle and mid. I find that really interesting, but you've got big AoE coming out, you've got engaged from Leona, Graves sets them up, and you just have the follow-through damage. It was a cool comp.
Yeah, he had the AoE damage that he was able to bring to the fight. You know, there were some bans, Twitch and Lucian, aimed at the AD carries in these games, you know, paying their respects to each other, which is definitely warranted. But Ocelot on that 0.8 shield cast and just able to hold his own against Kayle in lane and then come up and show up in the fights.
Yeah, honestly, it was this calculated game. The lanes worked out. The first pick Kassadin, I always got to say, to me, if you first pick a champion, there is, maybe not for the player, but to me when I'm watching, there's extra pressure on that guy to say, this better have been worth it to use your first pick, right? Blue side first pick, this better be good for you. It was. Impeccable play on Kassadin, perfect game for him, never died, to my knowledge, unless I'm forgetting something.
Nope, he was 7-0 and 10.
Yeah, 7-0 10, right? Never died, played the entire game correctly. I still like the mix between passivity and aggression. Like, okay, yes, they took a long time. First blood, 11.5 minutes into the game. They certainly took their time. The entire first half of the game, super slow. But it felt like they hit a switch. It was like Aurelia got a Negatron cloak, and Kassadin, like, maybe it was when he got Zhonya's, maybe it was even before then, though, and they were like, okay, it's time to push.
Yeah.
And they just like they started looking for the picks. Nocturne went to go camp a lane and say, if someone shows, we'll kill, and then we'll dive. And they found that. But it was only after a while they're like, okay, now it's time to go.
Yeah, they started abusing the power because heavy bot lane saying, we're going to fast push you. And then they did, and they didn't ward up the jungle after they got those 3 outer turrets.
True.
You have to keep applying pressure, because after they got 4 turrets, I believe, they didn't do anything. And we saw JWoww freezing lanes. They did dive him once top and get that kill. Then Nocturne backed, Morden backed and tried to stop that push, and he did. And then they freeze the lane after that. And then bottom lane got frozen. And then they froze top lane with Ocelot again. And it just makes you so frustrated that you make some misplays. You overextend just a tiny bit against a Kassadin Nocturne, and you pay dearly for it.
And that's the thing, actually, is when you freeze multiple lanes, like, so the Gamers 2 setup, right, was like freeze top, freeze bot, Graves wave clears. Like, I think Graves was very important. If it was like Ezreal, if that was like Misfortune, like champions that are not good wave, like they can wave clear, but not as well, that's a liability, and you can push through that and dive it.
Yeah.
And so heavy bot lane, we're up against a wall mid lane. To me, they should have just like shown up in Aurelia's lane with 5 dudes and been like, we're just going to push you down, like, react to us. And heavy bot lane didn't do that. Their early calling was good. They got the pushes down. But then once Gamers 2 froze, they stopped thinking. They stopped making plays. They didn't set up Dragon. They didn't use the fact that there's 3 guys all visible in front of a minion lane to, like, get ward control over, like, the jungle. Go claim the red buff. Go claim the blue buff. Go set these things up. And none of that really happened for these guys. You said it, right? Kill the outer turrets, put wards in the jungle.
Yeah.
Not something that happened. Heavy bot lane stopped making plays.
Yeah. And the fact that when they ended up getting the objectives, they didn't have a gold lead at all. And then they kept giving up the dragon on top of it. And then Ocelot just got huge. And everybody knows how Ocelot is. When he gets going. Yeah, I already said it once, but he takes over the game really, really hard.
And it worked.
So definitely showing that they deserve to be in the round of 8 and be a competitor for an LCS spot. 3 of them, once again, Dude, Ocelot, Morden, all coming up really big that game. And having Yuki and JWoww on top of it, this looks like a really strong team. And Gamers 2, making it to the same point they did previously.
Yeah.
See if they can go a little farther.
We'll see if we can do it with the next try. Guys, we do have to take a quick break and go AFK for 3.5 minutes, but when we return, it's time for our third do or die game of the day when Levelland Shore takes on GG Call Nash. Don't touch that keyword. We'll be right back.